Hey, it is episode 10, which we need to cheer for a moment. Woohoo, 10 episodes. Because, the thing about podcasting, like I have been in the podcasting world for over 10 years. A lot of podcasts don't even get to 10 episodes. Very few get to 25. So, like, we've already hurdled like one of the major podcasting hurdles. So, yay, us. Go us.
That is very exciting.
The publishing industry, how you think there are like a million people out there writing books, but literally only 1% of people who write a book actually publish it. And I feel like podcasting is the same way. You see so many podcasts and you're like, there are so many podcasts. And really, there are not.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to be here with you, friend, on 10 episodes and talking about our favorite topic
I'm so
ever.
excited. It's our favorite.
Yes,
it's our
it is
favorite cringe.
And I'm excited to dive into it with you.
I'm so excited to dive into it since I literally just finished watching the movie.
Yeah,
20 minutes
this is
ago.
fresh. And also,
So
I'm excited because this time tomorrow, you and I will be in the same city. So get ready.
Which is
There's gonna be
wild.
some reels on the Instagrams. But yeah. She was like, I'm not doing real. Thank you. Hard pass.
that
Speaking of
face.
cringe, anyways, what are you reading?
Oh my gosh. Because we are filming
Yes.
this podcast early.
Yep.
Because you are trapped. I'm still on my book club book and I'm not that far. And I got
I believe in
24
you.
hours to finish
I believe in the
it,
power of
so
you.
tomorrow. I believe in you too.
I saw the best edit podcast at about 1.25, 1.5. And so when I listen to podcasts, I cannot listen at regular speed because I'm like, they're talking slow.
Yeah, that's about what I listen to podcasts too. But once you do it, you can't go back. Then all of a sudden, like, it feels really slow. And you're like, why?
Slow? Yeah.
I don't need dramatic pauses.
Funny. It's so true. I am reading Mile High. Oh, that's good.
I sent you that picture of the book at the store the other day, and I was like, why is this so thick? Like, really, honestly, I only feel like my Harry Potter books are that thick, or like Crescent City.
I mean,
like, that
let
was
me tell
a thick
you,
book.
when there's like 3 chapters of one whole scene taking 3 chapters, I go, yeah, it makes sense. It's interesting. It's got an interesting male. So we'll
an episode, like one
probably
episode, just be that.
I mean, I don't remember when they said the show is coming out. I mean, we've got time, I think. I just was excited to read it because I'm still in my off-campus hangover and it's a hockey romance. And it's kind of fun for me too because there's quite a lot of scenes in Nashville. And we used to live in Nashville. We used to go watch hockey in Nashville, but I have thoughts. I have problems. I have questions. But yeah, it's interesting. And then I'm also like tandem reading another book that somebody said might be like my book. And so I wanted to read it. And it's called Archer's Voice. And I'm already like, this is not the book for me, but I'm going to try and get through it. So it's sad, but like I wrote a sad book. So I don't know what's on here.
I mean, I would say for your book, if your characters are looking for transition and like kind of what they're going to do next and are also going through grief journeys and some other things, I highly recommend the 7 Year
I'll put that on my list right now.
It's definitely going to be, it's a summer read for me. And then I make lemon pie and you'll understand once you read the book that I always make a lemon pie to cope.
Okay. I so wish that we had for this episode that there's this little card keychain you can buy and you hold it up to your face and it makes everything blue. And I wish that I could look at you.
Literally, we could pause and I could go get the blue light.
I want to
douse myself in blue light.
Oh my God. Nice.
Well, I did wear my blue sweater that says emotionally unavailable because I felt that was appropriate for this.
Oh my God. Okay, what is the topic? We just need to get into it because we're so ready.
We do. Guys, we're talking Twilight. And we are only talking Twilight. Book 1, movie 1, because we have too much to say about each movie and each book to...
It would be a 5-hour episode, let's be honest. Nobody wants that.
It'd be longer than the saga, okay?
Come on. So tell us, Catherine, tell us about Twilight.
Twilight is a novel by Stephanie Meyer. It was published in 2005. It's the first book in her series, her best-selling series of young adult fantasy romance novels about 17-year-old Bella Swan, who moves to Fort Washington and falls in love with the mysterious and alluring vampire Edward Cullen. Their forbidden romance is complicated by Edward's struggle to control his thirst for her blood and the danger posed by other vampires, culminating in a life-threatening confrontation with nomadic vampire named James. The novel explores themes of desire, danger, and conflict between human and supernatural worlds, setting the stage for the rest of the saga.
Can I say something before we get into all the things about this book and all the problems associated with this book? You know, there's a really interesting tidbit. So when she wrote this book and she chose the location, she chose an actual location, Forks, Washington. It's an actual town. You can go there. And
Sam Bella's house.
we are going to do that. And it's on, and she did her research and she found out that there is a Native American tribe that lives in the area, the Quiutes, who are in the book. Although, just letting you know, they're not werewolves. They're just Native people. But, and the reservation that she mentions in Twilight is an actual reservation, and that's the name of it, everything. La Push Beach is a real place. La Push, baby. La Push.
La Push, baby.
Am I supposed to know what that means? Anyways, so the reservation had a resurgence. So they were literally on like their last generation of people who spoke the language. And because of the Twilight books and the subsequent novels and the movies, they had a resurgence of kids who wanted to come back to the reservation and learn language. And so just hold on to that thought that she literally, because of her books, that tribe was able to rebuild. And I don't know the status of it now as of this podcast, but I just remember hearing that, and I have a lot of feels for Native people in this country, and it brought me so much joy to know that. So, you know, hold on to that while we start talking about the things that are problematic.
I mean, listen, there are problematic issues with this book. And I will say there are good things that also came out of the Twilight series
absolutely.
as well.
I know this book definitely came at a formative time in my life. And so we were talking before we hit record that when we look at Twilight now as adults, I still look at it from that lens of the girl that I was back then, who onto this and held it with both hands and embodied all that was Twilight. So it's interesting,
100%.
you know, having a conversation about it from a analytical viewpoint, because I mean, I went to the midnight premiere and made shirts in my 20s, friends. I was not a teenager.
Listen, I also went to the premiere. We'll have to talk about our premiere experiences when we talk about the movie here in a minute, because like just watching this now with my kids, I was like, you should have heard the screaming.
Oh, I know. Okay.
But I found this really interesting when I was putting in our little like kind of notes about the key aspects of the novel, that Stephenie Meyer herself categorized this book as a suspense romance horror comedy.
WTF.
What?
So when
Bella in the book is really witty. We do forget she's very sharp tongue. She's very sarcastic. There is banter in the book that I don't, when we talk about the movie, gets lost. That banter kind of gets lost and it just becomes cringe. And it's not just Bella who's witty. Like all the characters have way more kind of depth and that wit to them. So I do understand the comedy aspect.
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was
a lot of dry
interesting
humor.
that you put in the notes that she won awards for children's books of the year and things like that. And I'm like, which children are reading this book? Like, not.
Oh, no, fairness, I was 15 when this book came out.
That makes more
like
sense than like, yeah, I don't know, man.
I also thought that was really weird when I put that in there, that it was winning awards for like the best children's book. And I guess technically it was young adults. Like I remember you had to go to the children's section of Barnes and Noble because they didn't have a YA section yet.
That's
you had
true.
to go to the children's section.
That's true.
And so I don't know if like, I would be curious. I didn't really look into this, like when the YA genre became as big as it did. I feel like it was probably the early 2000s because you also got The Virgin, you got Hunger Games, and all these books that were children's books, for lack of a
Not.
better term, but like I think the age is
Yeah.
on them is like upper teens, you
Yeah.
know, like
For
15.
sure.
So that would be interesting. We should definitely look into that. Like, when did the YA genre become what it is now? Because now they have their whole big section right
Yeah.
next to the adult section at Barnes and
Yeah.
Noble, our major booksellers, where before it was, yeah, I remember you're like,
So
picture book
weird.
Twilight.
It's so weird.
Learn your
Yeah,
ABCs, Breaking Dawn.
it's really funny because I worked downtown and our
Mm.
office was right by a Barnes and Nobles. And so I literally
The
it's
best
the
Barnes and
best. It's
Noble.
not there anymore.
Rip.
But I used to love, like, I would literally go on my lunch break and like buy the next book and sit at my desk with it in my
Oh my gosh, this book, like my friends and I
Yeah.
were passing around copies. And I remember I had a friend who wasn't a big reader,
Yeah.
but got into Twilight. And I lent her my copy. And in the margins, I would write my thoughts, like little annotations of like what I thought, because I knew she'd
Be
be
with
reading
her.
it when I
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
sit there and react with her. And so I'd write, like, I literally had like things
Oh
circled
my
there, like,
God.
in the margins. And it was such a fun experience for us to like have the book that way. That I've done it with other books now. Like if I'm gifting a novel to somebody and I want them to know
Yeah.
my reactions, I'm like, this, I write it in the bin. But it was such a fun thing. It's like passing notes, and we'd like pass the book and they'd write their thoughts
Yeah.
back. And it was really such a fun experience. Like I do remember like the experience of sharing it with my friends
Yeah,
being
and,
very,
it's
very
interesting because
positive.
I think that for our kind of time period, like we didn't have like now there's so many fantasy series for us to obsess over. Like you turn on Book Talk and I'm like adding to my TBR like nobody's business because there's so many books and series that we're obsessing over. Back then, it was Harry Potter and Twilight. Like those were the two series that we were like obsessing over.
Yeah.
And I think Twilight really started bridging, like you said, the gap between Harry Potter children's book to, adult fantasy, kind of
Right.
thing. I also like, I came from the generation of Anne Rice girlies. So I read all the Anne Rice books. And
Yeah, but which would have been like my
exactly.
parents would not let me read Anne Rice because it was
Exactly.
too adult for like
Right.
me at
Right.
15
And I
to
I
read.
had read them. I'd read a few going into, because you have to remember Twilight came out my junior year of college. So I don't think I actually got the book until I came home from college. But so yeah, so I had read Anne Rice, and so it's a very different approach to vampires. And as somebody who loves vampires as much as I do, it was such a big deal for there to be a book about vampires where they weren't going around murdering everybody. Because as great as the Anne Rice books are, and they are,
Right.
they're still hunters. They're still vampire. And it's very dark.
It's
And
still
I also
dark.
had
Like
read Bram
it's
Stoker's Dracula, so I was very fascinated by this kind
oh,
of vampires worried about their mortality.
with a
Empire with
moral
a moral compass.
compass,
Here
right?
for it.
Like,
And so when you introduced me to
yeah.
Carlisle Cullen, like done, check, fini. And then they
Mm-hmm.
cast them.
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly! And I know we're not there yet, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where when I was reading, like while watching the movie, making our notes, like that is where Stephanie Meyer's Mormon, and that is part of like where her
Yes,
Mormon
yes,
lens comes into it. Was like she did write Edward and all those vampires kind of through that like
ugh,
struggle of the man with the sin kind of thing. Which, but in all honesty, I like it. It was like
yeah.
it was an interesting read, right? It was an interesting read. It was, I mean, it's not any spectacular work of fiction, I would say. Like the
Her
writing is
writing's
not
not good.
anything that's
No,
like
and
Jane
honestly,
Austen
like there
level.
has been a
Yeah.
lot of criticism
It's
about her writing. Especially when the later
yeah.
books came out, people were like, "Really?" And you sometimes wonder because I've picked them up and looked at them and read a couple sentences and been like, "My God," and you do wonder, you're like, "How did this woman get a contract?" But it's because she was telling a unique story from a Mormon lens.
It was a unique story, bridging that gap, I think, for like a market that was in love with Harry Potter, but the Harry Potter series at
Yep.
this point is starting to close out. Like, we're towards the end of the books. And those books had matured with your readers, right? But like, I
Yeah.
was sitting in that gap area of like, well, what do I have? What do I need? I need a series. And I do think the Twilight, like the Harry Potter Twilight to ACOTAR pipeline is a very real pipeline, because those same friends who I was obsessed with Twilight with in high school, I have reconnected with as an adult after years of like no contact. We're now friends again because we all like
Yeah.
realized we were reading ACOTAR and we
Yeah.
had somebody to fangirl with. And so, and it's like the same reactions where you're texting now.
Yes.
So it's like margin notes. So you're like, oh my God, I'm here.
Yeah,
And what is happening? And
absolutely.
like,
I also think like
it's fun.
culturally it was really interesting at the time because like I think about where I was, like I know you were in high school, like no listen, y'all don't need to do the math here about how much older I am than her. But I was in college when this book came out, and this, I think about the things that I was into. Like I was watching Laguna Beach. I was watching The Hills. I was like,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh my God.
I mean, dear God in heaven, obsessed with Lauren Conrad in a way that, like, I went to her book signing. I have a signed copy of her fiction book, LA Candy, y'all. I met her. I have pictures. And to all the
Funny.
Twilight Midnight premieres with. We went to that book signing, anyways. But I feel like Twilight really fell right into that kind of cultural moment that we were in, where we were idolizing teenagers and their love lives. Like you think about Laguna Beach.
100%. But
Yes.
you have One Tree Hill. You also had One Tree
Yes.
Hill. You'd come off Dawson's
Dear
Creek.
God, if this doesn't explain all of
You
our
had,
obsessions with off
uh,
campus, then I don't know what does. Because literally all the women our age, like this
well,
was the
100%.
time in our lives where we were watching all these shows, and Twilight came out in the middle of it. Yeah, it's really interesting when you think about it, because you're like, no wonder it was such a success.
Well, and it's an angsty
Very.
book, right? And I like, you have to think this is 2005, right? We're gonna, if we are talking music
Yes.
too, because like when we talk the soundtrack and we're talking about Paramore, Linkin Park, like we were
Dashboard
angsty, my
Confessional.
friends. This
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
emo phase. Yes, but like Twilight was like, you could have been the American Eagle kid and like also read Twilight, and you could
Yeah.
be the Hot Topic kid and read Twilight. Like it bridged
Yeah.
a lot of gaps there. And like you, like in terms of mall culture too, like I just think there was a lot happening with Twilight where it just was came along at the right time in a pivotal culture moment and then became part
It's
of that
kind of,
cultural
yeah, it's kind
like
of amazing when you think
story.
about it, because yeah, you're absolutely right. Like I was super angsty, an
So
angsty
angsty.
college. Y'all, and I am still angsty. Are you kidding me? Listening to emo in my car every day this
Listen.
week.
I have an 8-hour playlist of just
Please share it with
2000s
me.
emo. And the unabashed
Oh,
confidence I get when I listen to those
absolutely.
songs is
Yeah,
ridiculous. Should be
absolutely.
studied.
But it's funny because I was very angsty in high school, and I didn't get to be the angsty alternative kid that I wanted to be. That wasn't really
Mhm.
something that was, I wouldn't say necessarily allowed, but encouraged. And and then in college, I tried to fit in with the preppy crowd. It's really funny because I really do feel like Twilight was like my way of being that alt goth girl.
No, I would say it was like the
Yes.
acceptable alt. You know, you weren't going to really be ostracized. You were going to find people in that preppy
Yeah,
crowd who also liked Twilight. And again, same things happening with ACOTAR. Like,
I
I
love
really
it.
think it's just like a
Yeah,
replay of kind of what's happened.
that's incredible to think about.
Um, like obviously there are problems with this book, right? Like my mom read this book because I was obsessed with it. And I think she finally read it like
Oh,
after Eclipse came out, the third book. And she was like, no, this boy is a stalker. This boy is possessive. She is too reliant on him. Like there, and like now as a grown up, I'm like, oh, honey, it's
yeah. The
codependency, not
codependency
healthy.
was real bad. I will
Ooh.
say. And I laughed though because you talk about the stalker thing, and I literally sent you a book today. I was like, have you read this? Because it's all over TikTok. And it's
Yes, and
literally
it's literally
it's
a
called like
stalker.
Lights Out. And I'm gonna say that, and everybody's gonna be like, oh my God, I love that book. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my TBR. I'm on a wait list. But
But
it's
I think
interesting because like we all want that. we all wanted Edward in our bedroom at night, but then we didn't. You know what I mean? Like, if my husband was watching me sleep, I would be like,
But
you're a creep, but if you're a sparkly vampire, come on in.
yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's like as adults, we recognize like this
Right.
is a fantasy, right? Like this is purely fantasy. This is like, I wouldn't say all of Edward's qualities are red flag, but a majority of them are. Like his behaviors are. There's some okays about him, like, okay. But then there's also some real, like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Problematic. Not okay. But as adults, like reading so many of these books and these morally gray men we're attracted to, I think one, as angsty millennials, we were not seeing the world in black and white. We were seeing all the mess in between. And I think some of us are attracted to that mess a little bit. And then it's also, we're just, we recognize now it's like completely fantasy. Whereas maybe at 15, you're reading this for the first time, you are going to internalize some of the messaging there and not have those filters to understand like what is healthy and unhealthy relationships, especially when everything in 2005 was marketed as an unhealthy relationship being the ideal.
Again, we can go back to Laguna Beach and talk about, the scripting they did on that show. And I think about, I was watching it as a college student. I'm like thinking about teenagers watching that dumb show and being like, this is how I'm supposed to behave. It's interesting too, like you and I also had a conversation a couple weeks ago, I think, about consent in Twilight. And not just consent, for between Bella and Edward, because that's hilarious, but also Carlisle turning all these people into vampires. And but was it okay? It was funny because I think we talked about it for like 30 minutes.
Refresher, if you read the book, like Carlisle doesn't turn people into vampires except when
they're dying.
They're on death's door. Like they are minutes away from dying, and he gives them the choice. He asks them, do you want to become a vampire? Okay, like, but they arguably are not in a place to say yes. They are dying. Like you are. If you are in that moment of dying, and most of them were dying in horrific ways, like they had been attacked, they were on the like gravely ill, like it was just...
Edward was dying of Spanish flu. Esme was dying of
I think she was also a flu person.
And then Rosalie had been attacked horrifically, which we don't find out.
Like book 4? I don't think we find out until like book 4 what happened to Rosalie. So we'll have to wait on that one.
Yeah, Jasper was the only one that Carlisle didn't turn. He came to the family as a vampire.
And I think that's true for Alice too, isn't it?
True for Alice. And then Emmett I always love because they're just like casually like, he was attacked by a bear.
That's right. He is mauled. It's fine.
He's laying in the forest. And Rosalie was like, I want him. And Carla was like, okay, you scare me. I'll do whatever you say.
Yeah, so it's really like consent under duress.
Well, listen, think about the lens that she wrote these men. And when I found out that she was Mormon, it really changed my whole perspective on the book. How we perceive, listen, I'm not Mormon. I've only seen them on TV, but how we perceive them in that culture behave, how the women expect them to behave. So it made a lot of sense because I was like, okay, that tracks. Like the whole thing about like Edward being like, we're not going to do it till we get married.
Well, even like, yes, that part. But if we're just talking about Twilight, his whole like, I'm not even like, I'm not saying I don't want to be your friend. I shouldn't be your friend. Like, because like the self-righteousness of Edward, where he's like, I don't have enough self-control to keep myself away from you. And we're like, swoon. And then it's like, ew, where's your self-control? You're a 103-year-old man.
I know, but her blood was really tasty. I want my blood to like be really tasty.
Oh no, I mean like, right? Okay, but arguably, in the yearning, we want someone who wants you for all of you, and Edward literally wanted Bella for all of her blood most of all.
Yeah, love. It's not in Twilight. It's in the book that's written from his perspective, right?
Midnight Sun. There was a Midnight Sun retelling of the first book, Twilight, from Edward Cullen's point of view.
Yeah, because there's that whole thing in Twilight where he disappears for like 2 weeks or
Yes.
something. And she's like, "Where did he go?" And her friend's like, "Yeah, oh, they go hiking and camping. Other's nice or something." And he actually goes to Aladdin to visit his cousins,
Mhm.
to deal with his cravings and to decide if he's gonna kill her or not. You know?
Mhm.
Because Alice was basically like, you can either kill her or you can love her.
So ultimatum-y. Like, man, the 2000s, we were just like, it's all or nothing.
Oh my God. It just always cracks me up when I think about it, watch the movie, and I'm like, I always like, it's like watching Lord of the Rings with me. I pause it and I go, "Did you know?"
Oh my gosh. I did this with my kids watching it tonight. I was like, did you know about this in his perspective and all this?
Yeah.
Anyway, we really
Can we
should
say
get
anything
into
about the
the
movie?
yeah. Okay. But before we pop over to the movie, I do want to add that there have been additional books added to the Twilight universe. So a
Yes.
novella, The Short and Second Life of Bree Tanner, which she's a newborn
I own
vampire
it.
in lives. Okay, I haven't read that one. I need to maybe
Oh,
borrow
it's
it
so
from you.
tiny. Yeah, it's so tiny. It's really interesting. So, side note, because we're not talking about any of the other movies, but if you watch that movie, there are scenes in that movie that were taken from that
Oh,
novella. So,
cool. That makes sense.
yeah,
And then Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined, and it's a gender swap where it
I have
is
not.
the original, like the story told where the protagonists are switched. So
Is that
Bella would
by?
be, yeah, it's by
It's
Stephanie Meyer. Yeah.
it's interesting about these authors. We talked about the Divergent author deciding to write more Divergent books all of a sudden. And I was thinking about it. And Stephanie Meyer didn't really have much success after Twilight. She wrote that one book that was turned into a movie, which I hated. I read the book, I hated it. I hated the movie, all of
Which
it.
one was that? We'll have to tell
Oh,
me later.
it's the one where they're aliens in their eyes. Um,
Oh, yeah. Host? Is that what it's called?
yes,
Okay.
Host.
Honest to God, forgot about that book.
Right, you and everyone else. So, anyways, so
Yeah, and I had read that she was writing a couple more. She was revisiting the Twilight universe, but I haven't heard anything since.
she could write a book about Alice and Jasper, and I would read it.
100%. I would do that book. Honestly, I would do a Rosalie Emmett book. I would do a Carlisle Emmett book, like Carlisle's
Yeah.
time when he's with the
Volturi. When he lives with that
yeah.
Volturi. Oh, that could be a
Oh,
whole book
that
by
would be
itself.
good.
Stephanie, we have thoughts. Okay.
Anyway, I did want to mention those because I had put Midnight Sun because I do think it brings a new interesting lens to the Twilight
Yeah.
book and movie. And since we're talking about the movie, like Robert Pattinson was not happy with Edward as a character, and Stephanie Meyer had written part of Midnight Sun already, so she gave it to him to inform his acting and like how he was playing the Edward role. So, speaking of moving to the movie.
It's just so bad.
Okay.
Just imagining Robert Pattinson reading Midnight Sun trying to find like an impetus for his character. And oh my God.
Poor man. Anyway, so Twilight, the movie, was released in 2008. It's directed by Catherine Hardwicke. She also directed like 13 and oh my goodness, now I'm blanking. But it had just won like an Academy Award. It was about like the skateboarders in California. And why am I blanking so
Oh,
hard?
yes. Yes, I remember that movie. Okay.
Mhm.
I was trying to remember why she got this gig.
But then she went on to direct some other movies that I was like, oh, I had no idea she directed that. The screenplay was by Melissa Rosenberg. She writes the screenplay for all the films.
Okay.
So she adapted all of them. And it was, based off of Twilight. It's the first one. It stars Kristen Stewart as Bella and Robert Pattinson as Edward Cullen. The series grossed $3.36 billion worldwide. And the first installment of Twilight was released on November 21st, 2008. You and I both were in theaters at different theaters
We were,
at their
yes.
premieres. Oh my gosh. And so what's really a couple of fun things I found out about the film that some of it I knew, some of it I didn't. I didn't know that Twilight had been in development for 3 years prior. to its release and like Summit getting it by MTV Films. Like Paramount Pictures, MTV Films owned the rights and they were trying to do it, but apparently it was significantly different than the novel, that they made Bella into a star athlete. And it was,
Hilarious.
yeah, and it was like, what is happening here? And it was so different that Stephanie Meyer that she made the wrong decision in selling the film rights to their novel. And she's like, they could have put it out and called it something else, and nobody would ever know it was Twilight. Yeah. Can you picture Bella as a star athlete? Like, I picture the baseball game.
No, I can't. I cannot picture her as a star athlete, especially after seeing how she was portrayed in the movie.
Summit Entertainment reinvented itself at that time and said, like, hey, we want to do a major film franchise. And so they got the rights in 2007 to Twilight. And they shot it in 44 days. Like, the principal photography of it was in 44 days after just like a few weeks of rehearsal. And then it was all done on a handheld camera, which I think also explains why it's like off kilter so often. Like,
I always thought it was, I always thought it was so interesting, the choices that they made to have it appear to be like a small indie film.
Yeah.
And I remember like that was like such an appeal. Remember we were all like, oh my God.
Well, I think we were like, at the time, we're like, no, major franchise. Like,
yeah.
At this point, we're deep into the Harry Potter series being adapted. We've had some major films being done, like movie films being done. Excuse me, sir. He's like, it is bedtime. Why are we talking about Twilight?
He's all about the movie. Yeah, you're so right, because as lovely as the Harry Potter films are, and they were a huge part of my life and I love them, there was a lot that we didn't like. Right, there definitely was, like, we were scared of the giant franchise movie.
Yeah, like I think we were nervous about the big production company doing it very wrong. I put in our notes with the handheld cinematography to make it feel real, which, I mean, makes sense. Most of the time when we're talking exclusively about the vampires in the film, that's when it's off kilter, or things are like swirling and feel really disorienting. And I think that's because we're in the supernatural world. So we're now having like weird camera angles to convey that. Please go watch cinematherapy and let a therapist break down and a filmmaker break down Twilight for you, because it is the best experience you'll have. And
we will link to that in the show.
Anyway, they'll explain like the filmmaking part of it that makes you go, what? And then they also explain the therapy part of it that makes you go, hey, why is it blue?
Yeah, you put in the notes, why is it blue? I was like, we got to talk about this.
So the iconic blue tint was really a stylistic choice by Catherine Hardwicke to emphasize the cold, moody atmosphere of Forks, Washington. And it was used to represent the cold nature to make the like vampire skin pure, paler, and just like an overarching like gritty aesthetic. She wanted it to feel, she had done 13, which was all about teenage angst and isolation. So she was trying to like highlight Bella's internal bleakness, which I was like, is she that bleak? Like,
it's so interesting to me, and I know that we're not talking about the other movies, but I think what is so fascinating about this movie is, even of all the movies, this one stands very much on its own. It is its own unique look. The
characters are the acting was very like,
it was tough.
Very like,
and it's interesting because I do feel like as the other films came out, they kind of tried to iron a lot of that out in a way. And so it's interesting when we talk about Twilight, because this movie really does stand on its own. Like, to me, it's like the one you get through so you can watch the second one.
I was like, man, the second one is so much better. And I wouldn't say I like the second book better, but I like the second movie a lot better, because they fixed a lot of this. Like, it was just like, they were trying to lean into being gritty, but also a blockbuster movie, which was just like not meshing well, in my opinion. It didn't go.
Do you think that's why they didn't bring Catherine Hardwicke back?
Yes.
Because I
honestly think it was like, no. Like, we don't want that authentic feel. This is more of a
Yeah.
blockbuster. We're trying to do big storytelling, and like we can't do the big storytelling with
Yeah.
her. I do think it was very interesting. Like, I guess Stephanie Meyer visited set like 3 times, and like Catherine
She's
Hardwicke
in
was
it.
apparently calling her. Yes, she is in it. Was calling her after she had to like change little things. She's like, "Are you okay if I change this scene just a bit to make it work for the film?" And so like they worked really closely together. So I would say in terms of adaptation compared to the book, this is one of the closest you're gonna get.
Yeah. Yeah. I do love that they actually filmed it in Forks. I don't know if
Yes.
did they film the other films in Forks as well, or I don't know.
I think a lot of it
Um,
is done in Vancouver,
yeah.
but like yes, they very much were filming like La Push Beach was actually like La Push Beach. Like
On
they
Lucas Street.
were,
Yeah.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
filming around there. And
Yeah.
so they filmed like the exterior of the high school, but all the interior high schools are actually 2 different high school locations they were
And
utilizing.
we would be remiss if we did not pause for a minute and talk about the fact that Anna Kendrick is in this movie as a minor character. She plays Jessica, one of Bella's friends at high school. And it's really funny because, I mean, I love Anna Kendrick in this movie because I think she's about as appalled with it as the rest of us are. Like, anytime she has a line, she's just so sarcastic. And I did see a interview with her one day, and they were like, "You were in Twilight," and she's like, "Was I?
I was literally told the story.
I don't remember that." She's like, "I don't remember that," and it's just so funny to me that she's like, "Don't tie me to that."
Oh, well, okay. In
But
this movie,
it made
go
her
ahead.
career. Really, it did. I mean, Twilight was the start of her career.
It really was. And she's so good in it.
So good.
Like she's so perfect for that role. And then because since I'm fresh off of watching it, okay, like I had forgotten some of the prom scenes.
Oh,
And
the
like
prom.
where like Bella looks over at Jessica and it like emphasizes to
And
her the
she's
way her
like, yeah, she's like,
yeah, that's so
so funny.
I was like, okay, in reality, these 2 women doing that together, like today on the red carpet, I could see being a legit moment. We would be
Yeah.
like, that would be hilarious. But it was just like,
What's interesting
so
here is that you did write that one of the key differences between the book and the movie is that her high school friendship heavily minimized in the film, making her seem more isolated. And I do remember like reading the book and loving the friends very
yeah.
much. So I was excited to see them in the movie. And I do remember being disappointed there wasn't more of those scenes in the movie.
I think the friendships really get minimized in the movie. And I think they make Bella way more awkward.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
because in the movie, right, she's like swarmed by all these boys the first day she's there, like swarmed. And that makes sense. Small town, new girl.
Right, right.
But like it does, but she does get pulled into that circle of friends, like for the girls. And she does have like
Mhm.
girlfriends, which I think in the end is what makes actually her and Edward more problematic because it's not like she was like the loner and he was a loner and they were 2 loners together. It was more like, no, she was a popular kid who like
Yeah,
actively chooses to kind of abandon her whole support system to just be with the guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very interesting. Um, I one of the things I remember that was so profound. So you have to understand that I secretly wish I was a musician in a band. I have since I was in middle school. Like, it has always been my dream to be playing guitar on stage. I'm not made for that life, which is why I wrote a book with a band in it so I could write about it. Um, but I'm obsessed with music. I was a very like indie music listener, and their indie music was huge at this time, indie emo. So this soundtrack was just as important. And a little fun fact that I know from what I know about the book and the movie is Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson actually input on the soundtrack.
Yeah,
Uh
I do
Kristen
remember that.
Stewart, yeah, yeah. Kristen Stewart actually would like be listening to stuff on set and sharing it with Catherine Hardwicke and being like, we need to put this in the soundtrack, you
Well,
know?
Robert
And I
Pattinson has a song in
he's
the movie.
2 songs. There's 2 songs on the soundtrack, isn't there? I believe so, that he wrote.
Yes, I actually do think it's two, but there's like one we definitely hear in the movie.
During the scene in the Italian restaurant.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which I love for him because I don't think he did much music after that. I think he did try for a hot minute, but it never took. And then, and then he's dated musicians and now he has a baby with a musician. So it worked out for him. So he's good, you know. But yes, that scene always cracks me up because you just hear him in the back. Wow, 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 wow.
Very angsty. So
Sounds like cats.
it's okay. It worked for me at that time.
It made me too. Who said I didn't play it on repeat? I so did.
Yes, as I was watching this movie this evening, I'm singing every word of every song in the soundtrack as we're watching the movie, and my kids are like, "What is wrong with you? How do you know this?" I had the CD. Okay,
Yeah,
it was on loop.
Literally, I literally have a playlist right now. It's called like Twilight Gloomy Rainy Day or something, and it has like some Twilight music. I didn't create it. Somebody else created it on Spotify, and I migrated it when I moved to Apple Music, but we still listen to the soundtrack. Holy moly, y'all. My favorite band. They were nobody when this movie came out. Nobody knew who they were. And their song plays when it pans across the high school sign and it's raining. Bombay Bicycle Club. And if you don't know who Bombay Bicycle Club is, you're missing out on life. I love all of their albums. I've seen them in concert like 3 times. I'm obsessed. And they were introduced to me via the Twilight soundtrack. So, and that is still one of my favorite songs that they have ever written is that song. How Can You Swallow Sleep is the name of the song. And if you hear it, you'll be like, absolutely. You'll know right off the bat because it's like one of those iconic moments that everybody's like, oh, that's Twilight, So.
Yes. No, I think as much as like this movie is cringeworthy a lot of the time, because again, I think the script was rough. I think the direction and how they were asked to portray their characters was just
Not
very
good.
like, so like, I think the direction for Edward was to be super restrained and like struggling to say things because he was trying not to bite her. That's what it feels like the direction was. And so he's like so awkward and rigid.
It's painful to watch.
And then Bella was like, strong opinions on the hair by my kid. Just unhappy with it. Like, if he had good hair, I could maybe see the appeal.
I like how she's like, there's no appeal here whatsoever. And I'm like, he's a vampire that sparkles.
It's like diamonds.
It's like diamonds. You know who we haven't talked about? Like we really need to talk about. Well, there's two things. There's two things I want to talk about in this movie that were very interesting. One is the actor who plays Charlie.
Oh, Billy Burke.
Yeah, amazing. In all of these movies, he literally carries them on his back.
He really does. And like, I'll be honest, I've seen him in some other things, and I still think like the Charlie Swan role is one of his best. And it might be just because I'm nostalgic. Yeah. It's the first I've seen him in, but he plays that like kind of brooding, very caring dad. Like, let's point out though, it's really weird to me that Charlie's been so absent in her life.
Yeah, the whole relationship of her parents and her mom, and then her mom and her new guy. There's a lot of weird,
like why
dynamic.
Bella, like obviously had been going to Forks, but then stopped for a really long time, and then like is back. Yeah. Like that's weird. But like, let's say the minute Bella says, "Hey, I want to come and have a relationship with you," Charlie's like, "Doors open. Like I got you. Like we're good." And
I bought you a purple bedspread.
He's the only in a car, and like I'm trying, even though I'm super awkward about it. I mean, I think he's a man who's very like emotionally unavailable. But he honestly is the only voice of reason in the whole dang series, where he's sitting here going like, "Excuse me, you are a teenage girl. Your relationship is unhealthy," because the mom is like, "Oh my gosh, boys, cute, cute, cute. He loves you."
Yeah.
And not like it's weird that a boy chased her daughter all the way to Arizona, and that doesn't seem problematic.
Dude, that whole section of the story, I'm just the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, it's just no, none of this is no, none of it.
As a mom now, I'd be like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
I
like what
mean,
the heck is going on? Yeah. Peter Fasinelli plays Carlisle. And so for those of us who were teenagers in the 90s, holy schmoles. And I'll never forget, like, when he first got the part, like everybody was so excited that he had been cast as Carlisle, and like his like wife had read the books and everything, and it was
I
just
read he
really
wasn't the
exciting.
first choice. Like
Who was the first choice?
I don't know. They didn't say who the first choice was, but they'd actually gotten really far and thought he was going to do it, and then he dropped out pretty late in the game, like right before filming, and they were like, "All right, this is who we're doing."
I love that. And then of course we cannot forget to talk about Taylor Lautner, who played Jacob.
Yes.
And in Twilight, Jacob's a pretty, I wouldn't say minor character, but there's not a whole lot of development there.
No, like Jacob is somebody who ties, I think, Bella to Forks, like shows she had a presence there besides Charlie.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like they had a childhood. They had like he's a childhood friend, and like it provides her a little more like grounding, I think, in Forks, other than like, oh, I've just landed and I only know my
Right.
dad. And I think yeah, Jacob in Twilight is just like listed as like the lanky kind of childhood friend who's a couple of years younger. So like Bella's what, 16 in the first book? 16, 17, and he's like 15. Like he's a
Right.
freshman, she's a junior, I guess is like the difference, which is a huge maturity gap in all honesty. Like an upperclassman and a freshman maturity gap is massive.
Obviously. And you do see that in the book, for sure. Just the maturity gap.
Yeah. Okay, like all the books, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, so the interesting thing about Taylor Lautner is he didn't have the part after this movie. He was not going to be transferred to the next film. And I remember like hearing about that and being like, okay, well, that's interesting. Who are they going to bring in? Kid busted his tuchus to bulk up and because Jacob goes through a massive transformation between book 1 and book 2. And so he did as well. And he like fought for that role to prove that he could do it. And now I'm like, so glad he did, because I can't imagine anybody else having done it.
No, I really appreciate that about him, that he was like, no, I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to commit to the bit. I'm going to drink a lot of protein shakes. I'm going to work out like a fiend. And I mean, it really works, because I do think Taylor Lautner does a great job of Jacob and like capturing the positives of Jacob and the negatives of Jacob very well.
Yeah. So. Well, and they had cast in that first and Twilight. You meet Jacob. Well, you see him on the beach, on La Push Beach, with some of his fellows, and that always cracks me up, because they literally picked those two guys up off the side of the road. And we're like, be in this movie, because there's some background footage. Like I think in the extras on the digital version of Twilight, there's some extras, and those guys are like off to the side, like headbanging, when not like filming and stuff. And they had some problems with them, like learning their lines. They only have 2 lines, these guys. So it always cracks me up when I see that scene, because you see Taylor just like trying to carry those two with him. The Cullens don't come here.
And that's it. There's like an eye roll and then and
it took them like a million takes. No. Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like this is one of those films that like everything was wrong, but everything was right at the same time.
It's
you
know
what I mean?
The movie you love to hate. Like it is so cringy and yet so cringily good, right?
I still watch it.
Oh my God. I watched it for this podcast. I was thoroughly entertained. I was giggling, but then at the same time, when Edward comes and does the whole, like, to me, his best rescue in the whole movie, right, is when he like stops the car.
I know, to this day, like my favorite scene is when they're at the hospital afterwards. I loved that scene in the book, first of all, because Charlie is like gonna kill who was driving the van. I can't think of his name right now. Yes, he's like gonna murder Tyler, and Tyler's like, I'm so sorry. And
I mean, it's the hospital curtain to like be like, Like, he's like, you
Yes.
can kiss your license goodbye. And then he keeps trying to apologize and pulls the curtain shut. Like, no.
I mean, and that's in the book. And it's funny because when you think about it, Charlie like is the only police officer in town, basically. Like there might be a couple
Yeah.
others, but he's it. And so it was so funny to me, but I love she's talking to Edward and he's like, "You're not gonna let this go, are you?" He's like, "It's an adrenaline rush. You can
Yeah.
let." And it's just so awkward and funny. And he looks like he's trying not to laugh in that scene. Robert Pattinson is, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for all of that. I bet it was.
All of it. Like, I just want to be like the Boone Mike carrier. Yeah, like, that's
I
all.
know. I want to be the water girl.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the baseball scene when, like, filming that?
So there's been videos going around on TikTok and Instagram of that scene without the blue filter because they didn't film it with a like they didn't know they were
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah. No, the blue filter was all post. Like, that's all post production.
And it is hilarious because it looks absolutely ridiculous. Like
Well,
it
like,
just
okay,
looks they're
but
all
think
like
about, yeah, all the way they move and they like hiss and like the whole, okay, we're watching Hold On, Spider Monkey, and he's climbing
God, not in the book, friends.
all the, and I
It
think
really
that was
is.
like where, no shame to Catherine Hardwicke, but she had done all these indie films with like that kind of grittiness and stuff, and she was not, to me, this like wasn't her forte. It was like doing a big action film like this and needing
Yeah.
stunt work, and to do it that short period of time, it was like, no, I'm glad they moved to the next few films. They moved away from that just because there is a lot more action, and those
Yeah.
scenes lost what made them cringy and like so low budget.
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you, as a huge fan of the books, when I saw the first movie, my first thought, like I literally turned to my friend and was like, how the hell are they gonna do the werewolves in the next movie?
Yeah, that's a fair thing. There was
Because
barely any CGI in this film.
yeah, and I mean, it did look bad. Like it looked cheap. And so I mean, I remember like saying to her, and so I gotta be honest, when they said Catherine Hardwicke wasn't coming back for New Moon, I was like not sad about it because I could not imagine how she could, in that style, create
Yeah.
werewolves,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know?
I just remembered the film I was trying to remember. It's Lords of Dogtown.
Lords of Dogtown, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so like no, I agree. I was like I really, once we get into the films later, because they just don't feel like they're still cringy. Don't get me wrong. Like there's just dialogue from these novels that is
Well,
cringe.
because again, the writing
But
of the novels is not great.
right, right. So and there's plot lines that are just cringe.
Yeah,
But the films definitely feel better. Like
they do.
they feel they smooth out those cringe edges just a little bit where you're not sitting there cackling hysterically while watching, and or
Yeah,
can make a very potent drinking game out of it.
yeah.
We
Yeah,
should talk
it's
about
really
our
interesting.
premiere experiences though. I do feel like we should talk
Oh,
about,
hey, see,
because
I
like the
don't.
cultural phenomenon that was
Yeah,
Twilight when it premiered. And I threw in our notes that they got a November release date because Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince was supposed to release in November, and it got moved to the summer. And so Twilight got moved up and was like, here you go, you get the big November slot.
yeah.
So
It's funny because I went to the midnight premiere for all the movies, and then when the last movie came out, we did the full day marathon in theater. Watched all the.
bliss.
My oldest daughter might have been around when the last movie came out. I can't
I want to
remember.
say that is correct. My oldest was already here.
So, but it was, it was like such a thing. Like there was a group of us who always went. We paid for the extra, whatever, whatever, whatever. I don't remember going to the Twilight. Like I don't have a very vivid memory of that one.
Oh,
The one that like sticks out for me is actually when New Moon came out. No, Eclipse, because I had had hip surgery and I was on crutches and we got there to get in line to get seats. We had tickets for the midnight premiere. And the guy saw me and he said, "Would you like to go ahead and sit down?" And I was like, "Yes, I would." And I said, I have like 10 friends with me. Can you?" And he was like, "Absolutely." So I just remember that. Maybe it was New Moon. It was one of those. 'Cause we
kindness.
didn't.
This is the kindness we need. Movie theater, like employees, really shaped my movie going experience as a kid. Majority positive. One told me how to go sneak candy in. So
Nice. Yeah, absolutely right. Like we all cheered. We all when the iconic
when Edward Cullen came on screen for the first time, the
screaming.
screams like
Yeah.
the Beatles.
Well, but you also have to remember in the first movie, that's such an iconic scene, like of them walking into the cafeteria. And like, here's the thing, like we weren't just there for Edward. Like, my little friend group and I, we were obsessed with the vampire family. Absolutely obsessed.
Right, because I think at the point the movie had come out, we definitely had a clips. Like we
had the books. Yeah.
We had the first 3 books. And so, oh my gosh, yes. I remember going and I was like in a row with my friends and like one of my guy friends who read the book for the sake of us.
Oh my God,
like,
love that.
Was sitting next to me. And at one point, like everyone's screaming and cheering. And he just looks at me and he's like, no.
He was like, absolutely not.
No. He was like, probably the most reasonable person who read Twilight and was like, this is not good. This is not healthy. This is not okay. And I'm like, and we were all like, no, he's amazing. Sparkles.
That's all we cared about was the fact he sparkles. Well, and I think that's a really great way to like wrap all of this up. Like, you know, these books and this movie it was in a cultural moment for sure. 100%. And I think that you and I have had a lot of discussions, and we will continue to have a lot of discussions about how men in relationships are portrayed in romance novels. And, you know,
I would argue that Edward Cullen ran really fast, so Rhys-Anne could fly.
Is that like how oh my God, I was literally sitting on the floor explaining to my daughter what the Bat Boys were today.
I swear.
It's funny you say that because it's absolutely true, because you can literally hand me a book and be like, he has wings, and I'm like, absolutely he does. I mean, makes sense. Yeah, totally. You're absolutely right. I think it's interesting that you say that, because I do think that Twilight gave us permission to be obsessed with these.
I really think Twilight was like the beginning of the morally gray obsession, like morally gray men obsession, and where we liked seeing that yearning and that struggle of like, I love you, but I don't want to hurt you. And like the bad boy personification, but he's really just a guy with a tender heart. He's struggling with some stuff. He's emotionally unavailable, but I'm going to attach to him.
Okay, can I tell you something really funny?
Yes.
So in the middle, well, no, I've written my novel. I'm in the middle of editing it. And I ran it through a manuscript analysis and pro-writing aid the other day, because I'm on my second draft and I've really beefed it up. I've added 5,000 words. And it literally told me that my male character was too perfect. And I was like, but he doesn't have to be emotionally, I mean, he is emotionally damaged, but I was like, he doesn't have to have like a million flaws. Like, why can't we just have a nice guy? Like, why is that wrong? It was really offended by it for the last few days. Like, I've been really like,
I mean, we need good guys. But yeah, no, that you can have a perfect guy. Be the one who creates the perfect.
He's not perfect. That's the thing. He's flawed, but you know what? He's not. Okay. He's not a red flag.
That's it. He's a green flag and he's a book boy. Okay. And those 2 things make him perfect.
Oh my gosh. Love it.
Did you know? I think we should probably close out, because we'll just keep talking about Twilight forever.
Literally. I mean, we're going to talk about it tomorrow, probably.
Oh, 100%. But please, listeners, as you watch Twilight, look at all the weird things that happen in the foreground and background of this. Like, why does Kristen Stewart steal Anna Kendrick's celery 5 seconds after meeting her?
Dude, it's so weird. That whole scene. She's always like knocking her food around in the weirdest ways, like the ketchup in the diner.
Please find the hacky sackers. Like, and please find these things.
There is a gentleman on Instagram, and I will try and find his account and link to him, but he like remakes all the scenes and he plays all the characters, and it's hilarious. And he talks about this a lot, about the weird things going on in the foreground and the background during this film. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a movie again. I love to put on and be entertained and just like cackle, but it also brings so much nostalgia to me that I can't help but love it. because it just
For real.
reminds me of such a fun time as a teenager. And again, getting to like, I was sitting there tonight watching it and I was like, I would love to watch Twilight in a theater again with a bunch of women, like,
I
and just
mean,
have that
yeah.
same moment over again, like, where we
Yeah.
can all explain, like, because that is the movie going experience that I think we've lost a little since COVID, is like going and experiencing these big cultural
Absolutely.
moments as a community. And I just, I think that's something we need to bring back a little bit, because when I experience it, I'm like, I like that we all are having a shared emotional experience. Like, and
Well, and it's interesting you say that because I think that's what's happening online right now with off campus, and why people can't put it down and stop talking about it is because it is a big cultural
yeah,
and
I 100% agree. It's just like that community seeking each other.
yeah,
It's like,
I know.
yeah, like discussion boards.
It
Yeah.
really is.
So problematic, sure. Toxic things, 100%. Will I continue to enjoy it? Absolutely.
Yes. Did I show it to my children and they were like, "Mom, you like this?" Yes, they did.
Twilight is a thing. Like, it's a thing. It's a huge part of pop culture. We can't ignore it, and I'm grateful for it because I think it's what is part of why we started this podcast.
Literally. I mean, yeah. I mean, now that you've explained to me the through line, I understand why I'm here. So, all thanks to Twilight.
And also, fun Easter egg. There's an off-campus moment that is very similar to a Twilight moment.
Oh my gosh,
So
we didn't even talk about it. Yes. Oh my gosh. Do we say it or should we have people figure it out for themselves?
I want people to figure it out and tell it to us, and then we might also like just give a little post of like that
You know,
moment, because I was
it's
like,
so
I
funny
literally had the movie up
the
on one
whole time.
screen
Yeah.
and off campus up, and I was like playing them at the same time.
It was like, this is Twilight. I literally sat up in my chair and was like, this is Twilight.
There are multiple off campus moments that are such a homage to, I think, like
Oh,
iconic
yeah.
couples
So
that I was
many.
like,
Yeah, there's
and so
16
I like the,
Candles,
oh
10
yeah.
Things I Hate About You. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, so the Twilight Easter egg, which made this timely for us to talk about Twilight and for to celebrate 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, happy 10th episode, my dear cousin friend. This has been so fun. Like, we are literally having the time of our lives making this podcast, and so we just appreciate all of our listeners. And yeah, we're gonna keep going. So stay tuned. So leave us a review, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Threads. We have been popping off over on Threads, so we'd love for conversation with us. And definitely sure to check out our Instagram because we have been posting some fun posts for you all. So go check that out. And yeah, we'll be back next week with a new episode, which we're going to be recording in person. I'm so excited. See you there.